going to be responding to the claim made by a student that decreasing financial assistance is harming public universities. The student claimed that first, tuition increase is negatively affecting college students. Then he shows effects of decreasing financial assistance are somehow negative. And his last point is increasing enrollment for a community college is affecting the state schools. I claim that this student's argument is insufficient and based on a false claim. So my first point is that the student addressing the topic of college tuition is irrelevant to the claim about decreasing financial aid. The student claimed that the increase of college tuition negatively affects students. They stated that this leads to college students receiving more loans and grant aid, which is not enough to help them cover their expenses. The student leads the audience to assume that loans somehow negatively affect students and that somehow this harms public universities, but they do not provide information to support this. Also, loans are considered financial aid according to the U.S. Department of Education, and therefore when the student stated students receive more loans, it undermined his claim that financial aid is decreasing. This is a contradiction on the student's part. The student continues to say that more students are forced to take out loans to cover their costs. However, the total amount of loans that have been taken out nationwide has actually decreased. According to the article, net prices keep creeping up, posted on Higher Ed, which is the trusted leading digital media company serving the higher education space, said that the total annual education borrowing dropped for the 6th consecutive year. It fell by 15% from 2010 to 2017. This shows the student had made a false assumption here. The student then later gives the example that DACA students seem to be the most affected by the tuition increase. The example does not support the original claim that what is harmful to universities is the decreasing financial aid. In fact, the issue of tuition is irrelevant to their main claim. The evidence makes it seem that it is rather tuition that is harmful. No connection was drawn from financial aid to tuition, and therefore it is irrelevant. My next point is, the student's evidence for proving financial aid decrease is insufficient. The student attempts to prove that financial aid is decreasing was through examples that only explain the circumstances financial aid awards do not consider. For example, he stated, FOSFA does not capture some special financial circumstances like high medical bills. However, this does not show neither prove that financial aid is decreasing. Financial aid has mostly never considered special circumstances, nothing is new. The student is rather arguing that financial aid is unfair to how they decide to distribute funds, which doesn't support or show that financial aid is decreasing. It is also very crucial to note that according to the College Board report that was analyzed by Higher Ed, stated grant aid per full-time equivalent undergraduate student increased by 14% between 2011 to 2017. It has increased by 42% in the previous 5 years. This proves that financial aid is increasing rather than decreasing as they originally assumed. So the student's argument is based on a false claim. Their credibility is lost. My last claim is the student's last claim, increasing enrollment for community college is affecting schools, is based on assumptions not backed by evidence. First off, no evidence was given to support that there was an increase in community college enrollment. It turns out that according to the article, national enrollment declines for the 6th straight year, but at a lower rate, posted on InsideHigherEd.com, community college enrollment rates are actually dropping. There was an enrollment decline of 1.7% this past year in 2017. This shows that the argument is based on false information. The student then also states that as the enrollment for state universities decrease, the funding also decreases, negatively affecting the many resources offered at the school. The student assumes that the decrease is due to the lack of financial assistance to the students, but they do not provide any evidence to support that. In 2017, the Higher Ed stated that four-year public institutions, however, had seen slight enrollment increase in recent years, but that shifted this fall with a small decline of 0.2%. The slight decrease is so minimal. The reasons for the slight decrease is not specifically known, so to assume that it is because of financial aid is the student jumping to a conclusion. Clearly, the student's argument that decreasing financial assistance is harming public universities is insufficient and based on a false claim. Thank you.
All right, well, the advocates' arguments are effectively summarized pretty quickly. It did seem to me like your first 2 points both have the same claim about sufficiency, so that was a little bit confusing, but maybe it's more a generic argument about sufficiency before you get to the first point that's going on there. Then you basically suggest that there's not really a demonstrated relationship between tuition and financial aid, and I think that you do a good job explaining why the advocate has made an improper assumption in this situation, especially given the information that you subsequently provide that shows that borrowing is down for the 6th year in a row. I think that works pretty effectively. You do mention the DACA issue as part of the advocate's argument, and you're suggesting that that's really not representative of what it is that we're talking about. I think that's pretty reasonable. Some issues concerning how tuition's going up, like you said, that may be the causality that the advocate's really talking about as opposed to financial aid going down, because most of your information seems to suggest a widespread availability of financial aid, including borrowing. And you know, the idea that there's some consequence of borrowing that makes it not appropriate to describe it as financial aid, I'm not sure that the advocate provided any reason to believe that that was true. All right, then on the second point, which I think is also being labeled insufficiency, although maybe the first point, like I said, was a little bit different, but this was clearly the insufficiency argument. You basically suggest that what the advocate is describing is not any different than it's always been. This is, you know, coming up with a unique circumstance where somebody might have an additional need. That's one of those things that just happens, and you've got information that says people are getting more grants than they did before. They've gone up 42% in the previous 5 years and 14% in the last year. That seems like it directly contradicts whatever proof the advocate presented. And I do think that this is the one place where maybe you don't do quite as much discussion of what the advocate's evidence is on those points. I thought you were much more thorough in the first and the third point in discussing what their information was. On the enrollment issue, once again, you talk about how they are basing their argument on a series of assumptions, and then you try to dismiss those assumptions by showing that community college enrollment is actually relatively small, that the enrollment at other colleges has gone up to some degree, and even though there's been a slight decline recently, that it's not statistically significant, and that there's no correlation to financial aid. And I thought that you did a good job kind of explaining that in your refutation. The presentation rushes a little bit, and probably the term the advocate would work better than the term the student. You know, the student seems, and don't be afraid of using their name. I mean, they have a name too. That's okay also. Yeah, no, it's perfectly okay. I mean, as long as you don't use it disparagingly and you say, Esteban said, you know, something like that. It would just be, it's okay to say, according to Richard, this is what they said, but Richard's not correct in that particular regard, and here are the 3 reasons why. That's perfectly fine. All right, thank you.